Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration on the web series The Nature of Predators. If you are new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 109. Memory Transcription Subject, Chief Hunter Issav, Arksor Dominion Sector Fleet. State Standardized Human Time, December 13th, 2136. The fact that my appearance horrified Farah left me shaken. The primal rush of adrenaline quelled to something manageable. Bullets assailed the room's wall as I was cornered alongside the doser and a near-blind human. The unconscious Kolshians, whose legs I'd broken, were tied up to a desk as well. Oleg flashed his teeth, laughing at the absurdity of our encounter. The urge to roar in his face struck me, but I kept that bottled. With the gentlest touch I could manage, I scooped up Felra's tiny form. Her ginger and white fur felt puffy beneath my paws. Oleg marched over to me, snatching the doser out of under my claw. The human opened up his knapsack and stuffed the herbivore inside. As much as it stung to have my friend taken away, I knew the primate was best equipped to carry her. The Kolshian soldiers were camped in the adjacent room, back in the direction we needed to travel. The 4 mangled corpses and crumpled bodies in the room were my handiwork. It was a shame that Farah had witnessed the full brutality. I'd known from the moment we spoke in the chat that she would hate the real me. Interacting with her had been foolish, especially allowing myself to get attacked. "So she's your friend, huh? But she didn't know you were an Arksor," Oleg shouted over the gunfire. My eyes formed menacing slits. "Human, of all people, should know what it's like to be judged by your species. Also, it's none of your fucking business." "If she was your friend, you would have told her." "I just wanted to talk to someone. Fuck you." The Terran soldier rolled his eyes and scratched the brown fuzz in his chin. Oleg's fur wrapped around his lip in what the humans dubbed a moustache. It made his flushed cheeks stand out more. I imagine Batman would have culled someone like him, with vision defects that limited his daily function. What good was a hunter without depth perception? I didn't trust him to protect Farah. "You have to cover for Oleg and Farah, and assuming Lisa has been gunned down, you have to protect her too. If one of the humans gets shot, the other won't leave them." I moved a mirror across Farah's room and used it to get a peek of our attackers. Lisa was scooching back across the hallway in the process of reloading her weapon. There was no crimson blood on the human's clothes, which was a positive sign. She had been skeptical of my intentions, so I wasn't sure whether I trusted her to be on my side. "Why did you believe my story so fast?" I hissed. "Your partner isn't so sure." Oleg shrugged. "It checks out. I knew they were up to something, or else, how did they get the Arksor to save Earth?" "That was my doing. Let's get Lisa and retrace our steps." "You're only saving one doser. There's others here." "The last time I saved some ceruleans from the cattle farm, they cried and screamed at me. Wouldn't believe for a second that I didn't want to eat them. I'm here for my friend. We have to. The UN ordered me to help them. The best thing you can do for Earth is keep me alive. Move out." I didn't voice any of my concerns about Oleg's blindness. He seemed to be physically adequate otherwise. As a defective Arksor myself, I wasn't a supporter of killing the weak and infirm. If I were born a human, I could have lived a normal life. Farah would have cried for my help, rather than passing out at my visage. Shaking my maw, I took a final look in the mirror. My body was pressed against the floor, and I lined up my gun barrel with the Kolshians. The flurry of fire caused the enemy to hunker down within their room. Oleg and I screamed against the adjacent wall. Lisa spotted us and sprayed her own bullets down the opposite angle. I steadied my breathing. Oleg and I waited for the Federation to make the first move. They wanted to finish sweeping the corridor, but any doser could escape. Just by stalling them, we were probably helping a few civilians get off the station. My patience was necessary in waiting for a target. A purple head poked out from the doorway, which resulted in a clean shot through its cranium. As the Kolshian crumpled to the floor, her body blocked the opening for a second. I pushed Oleg forward, crossing the threshold to the waiting Lisa. My legs sprinted right behind them, not slowing for a second. Engaging the enemy or delaying them for the other doser was not my priority. We needed to get off the station. "Where is the doser?" Lisa chased after me, and Oleg hustled after her. "Don't tell me that we were star asses for nothing." I struggled to speak between pants. "Farah is in Oleg's pack. No, my shuttle was still operational when I left. Your shuttle? The one in the blown-up tunnel which took a nasty tumble? You ask many questions, and offer no solutions. We almost suffocated back there. I don't even remember how we got in that room, and I kept you alive. The two peacekeepers were hot on my heels, not tiring as we hurried down the hallway. Even with my longer legs, the humans were beginning to outpace me. My breaths were labored, and I was grateful that we reached the sector divider. The Colchians hadn't attempted to pursue us, so it should be a clean getaway. The Terrans followed me into the emergency compartment, and their gazes displayed apprehension. I recovered my oxygen helmet, slipping it back over my head. The primates had no such safety precautions, so if I were a more ruthless Oxor, I could kill them in the airless area. They were dependent on me for survival. I don't trust Oleg and Lisa not to turn on me in the shuttle. My past experiences with humans haven't been all pleasant. The cruel, self-centered thoughts felt as heavy as a rock in my mind. Valra was safe in Oleg's bag, and I wasn't going to let the doser wonder what I did to the Terrans. I wrapped my claws around the two human shirt collars, ignoring their protests. Opening the airlock with my tail, I dragged them a few dozen paces to my shuttle. The primates would be crewing my shuttle, and that was the end of it. The four of us boarded the shuttle, and I tried not to fixate on what I would say to Valra when she woke. The battle for Maloo had not gone in our favor, just as I anticipated. There was a shock value in the Arxor fleet coming to the doser's aid, but the Colchians had brought the largest fleet in living memory. The typical strategies we employed to make the skittish Federation flee weren't having their usual effect. When the cowards didn't run off, their numerical advantage was insurmountable. The United Nations' efforts were concentrated on escorting evacuation ships rather than holding the system. The fortunate news was that the Federation were not bombing the planet. Their ground occupation meant this wasn't a life-or-death contest. We could compile a greater number of ships and return to take the planet back. However, the Arxor intervention needed to draw to a close. Messages from the prophet-descendant Gizno had flooded in, demanding to know why I defended Maloo. He demanded that I withdraw all forces from the system, or he would send someone to dispose of me like Shazar. My execution was still on the table, especially if my rescue mission became known. All Arxor ships. Betterment has ordered us to pull back. These doser are not worth significant losses of this caliber. I looked back at my data feed, surmising that our ship capacity had been halved. The Federation count had dropped by a few thousand, but our forces would be depleted soon. Cover any Terran allies retreating from the system. If you can get off parting shots at the Federation, do it. A weak squeak filtered into my ears, and my head whipped around. Valra had been placed atop a wadded-up blanket. Her tiny whiskers had been twitching in her slumber. Lisa was sitting next to her, wearing one of those asinine vibers that humans caved to. A small part of me wished there was a mask that could hide my face. Even if I covered my optical receptors, the serrated teeth were a deal-breaker. "Human," the doser croaked. "Where am I?" Lisa pursed her lips with sympathy. "You're on an evacuation shuttle. How much do you remember?" Valra's eyes rolled back in her head, and she nibbled on her lower lip. I could tell that she was running through the details of the Federation attack in chronological order. It was apparent when she hit the terrifying moment, when I'd burst through the door to save her. Perhaps she didn't remember that the ghastly Arxor had used her pen pal's name. "Gray snapped Colchian's neck," she squeaked. "Said it was Siffy." The doser's pupils surveyed the room, alight with panic. I quickly swirled around in my chair as her gaze landed on me. I wanted to melt into the floorboards and cease my existence then and there. For some reason, her terror felt like a knife wound in the chest. What I told her on the messaging service was correct. I deserved to be alone. Lisa cleared her throat. "Isif can't hurt you. You don't have to look at him." Valra sniffed. "Isif not." "Siffy is a nickname given to me by a Gojid child," I growled. "A refugee who was taken by a human, someone I cared about on Earth." "Great. Now you've admitted your affection towards Nudia, too. You're losing your grip." Sitting here now, the stupidity of my actions slapped me in the snout. Mobilizing an entire war fleet to defend the doser, all because of a few internet chats with a false premise, was insanity. Valra hated me, and she had every reason to. Her first impression of me was when I killed 4 Colchians with natural weapons. The species she was actually intrigued by was sitting next to her, comforting her over me. The doser buried her head in the blanket, nose twitching. Tiny tears leaked from her eyes. and her sides rose and fell in shaking intervals. The human seemed to pity her, from what I could glean. Oleg was peering over the top of his book. Per the visual translator, the title read, "Why the United Nations Really Funded FTL Research." I had a vague curiosity as to the contents on the pages, but this was not the time to ask. "I don't even think he's actually reading it, given that he can't see. He's just pretending not to stare at Valra." Oleg slammed the book shut. "Maybe pipe down over there, Siffy. You're only making it worse for her." "I'm sorry," I mumbled. "In the future, you should disclose to people that you're an Oxel before you expect them to respond well to you." "I told her I was a predator. I never claimed once to be a human. I allowed the idea to linger, perhaps because I wished I truly was one of you. I wanted to talk to someone." Lisa studied the crying Dosa with concern. "What made you think that it was a good idea to talk to a Fed, not a human? We understand you somewhat." "Tava, yes, the Vendel governor, thought I needed to understand herbivores, and also you chatterbox tree swingers hate us. You can't keep the disgust out of your voice. When it's between us and the leaf lickers, you swoop in to protect them, just like you're doing now." "Because we know your animals. My sister was in a bunker outside Barcelona, and you Greys arrived to clear the tunnel. They watched you pull small animals from the grass and eat them live. A few cats were swallowed whole." "Companion animals. Sensitive topic. Yes. Alas, they do not know what I understand about your cats and dogs. Cultural misunderstanding, which I'll not make." "I'm going to stop you right there. Wolfing down a kitten is not cultural misunderstanding," Oleg chimed in. "A cultural misunderstanding is giving thumbs-up gesture and not realizing it's the middle finger in some countries. The difference is there's no death or animals getting eaten in my example." Valra shrieked in irritation. "Stop! Shut up!" The veil of silence was draped across the room. It would be comical for an outside observer to witness a tiny rodent, silencing 3 predators with a single order. I was relieved that the Dosa regained her composure enough to make demands. My eyes studied her tiny form as she lifted her tear-stained head. "To censor myself, as humans do," Valra quoted. "The constant mention of scaring me off. He fucking told me." "He? Gendered pronouns?" "I've watched vids about humans. I know how they act," the Dosa continued, "and I noticed that Sifu was not like them. He said that he wasn't like them multiple times." I blinked several times. "I am not like them. If you wish for someone to coddle you in a baby voice, you'll have to issue that request to them." "Don't tell them about that." "Sorry. Too late." Oleg and Lisa shared a look of pure confusion, mouthing a few words to each other. The male human mimicked an adoring expression and stretched his binocular eyes wide. He mimed a petting motion, running his rough paw down the book cover. Lisa snickered before waving a hand in front of her throat. The Dosa whined in annoyance. If Valra was a Terran, her cheeks would be flush with embarrassment. "Damn it! Why are you here, Siffy?" Valra focused her attention on me, and her whiskers twitched in fear. What are you going to do with me?" My nostrils flared. "I don't know. I came to save you. I did not think past that, or about how to handle the consequences. I am not going to harm you, but I cannot take you anywhere an Oxel would go. Just by coming here, I have ruined my cover. Betterment, that is our government enforcement wing, will be suspicious of me at best. I might have just destroyed my chance at demolishing the Oxel Dominion from the inside." "Back up. Demolish Dominion?" "They are cruel, and they are starving us purposefully, so that we are animals, as Lisa said. It goes so far beyond that, though, Farah. The reason all Oxel seem devoid of emotions or care is because betterment culls anyone who exhibits empathy. It goes back to your question of whether I have predator disease." You definitely do." "Actually, I am the lone Oxel tested by the United Nations to pass an empathy test. I guess I have a prey disease. I've always had softer emotions, and I didn't find social contact grating like most of my kind. Hiding those two, differences kept me alive."
"Most Oxel do tire of us talking to them,"
Lisa noted, "because they are not interested in your mundane lives. Even if I find it bizarre how you wage war and silence, though your kind are quite intriguing to me. At any rate, I have no way to make friends amongst my own people, and I doubt I could pass as human on your internet." Oleg chuckled. "You definitely couldn't. Your speech comes off as stilted, and you don't seem to know the appropriate response to most things." "I am a little short in practice. Formal speech is my sole outlet, yes, and the things I've done to survive justify calling me a monster. So in essence, I do deserve to be alone. However, it was nice to understand what friendship feels like for a brief moment. Thank you, Laura. I turned my attention back to the cabin controls, satisfied that I'd said my piece to the doser. She had been an excellent friend while our doomed relationship lasted. It was time for me to accept that my isolation was fated. This was why my defective sight was dangerous. Everything I had worked to build was forfeit, including the friendship I'd forfeited it all for. My mind zoned out as I set course for Proxima Centauri, a system the Terrans used as a staging ground. I wasn't foolish enough to fly to Earth again, no matter how sorry Zal claimed to be. However, Farah and these two humans needed to be dropped off in UN territory. After that, it was time to face my likely execution, with dignity and grace. Even my smooth tongue would have a difficult time talking a way out of this with Gisnell. He's livid. A handful of pricks registered at the tip of my tail, and startled me half to death. My conscious mind barely reacted in time to prevent a devastating lash. I froze up, trying to assess the situation. If those blasted primates were poking me with a sedative, I was going to rip their throats out this time. I wasn't keen on being on UN custody again. The poking sensation moved up my spine, as if tiny hooks were ascending my sloped posture. I inhaled heavily through my nostrils, scenting warm blood belonging to the doser. What in the stars was Farah doing? It bewildered me that she'd left the comfort of her blanket, and the overprotective humans crowding it. Farah perched herself atop my skull, right behind my eyes. Okay, we're going to do this together, but you'll have to tell me more about you. I'm sorry, what? I hissed in disbelief. You said you didn't think past saving me. I don't want anything to happen to you. So we should think about it now, together. I'm sorry about Malou. You are under no obligation to speak with me, or continue in this vein of friendship. I am incapable of leaving the ship at the moment, but I would let you mourn in peace. The Colchians are re-educating my people. I'm not captured now, but because of you. You're Siffy, and I'm glad I know the truth. I can smell your fear, Falra. It's very potent. I am scared of the humans too, for what it's worth. I jabbed my tail towards the flimsy primates. They're lousy predators. They couldn't hunt with their bare hands if they wanted to. Olek can't even see. You broke my glasses, arsehole, the male human protested. The Arxor would still cull you for needing vision goggles. Not that I agree with that. Lisa narrowed her eyes. What about me? Would I be on the chopping block? You ask too many questions, and you're repulsed by eating live animals. Most Arxor would space you, just for that. The female Terran snorted, as her pupils fixated on the doser atop my head. Olek's expression gained a bit more levity too, since Farah made herself a physical accessory. Knowing how the human brain worked, the psychotic primates thought the sight was cute. Just having the rodent in my proximity probably made me adorable to them by extension. That thought didn't seem as repugnant to me as it once would. I couldn't believe that Farah still cared about me. I had a friend that accepted my defective physical form. Maybe one day she'd be able to approach me without reeking of terror. Vendel had grown acclimated to humans, after all. With 2 humans warming up to me and a dose's help, perhaps we could find a way to unseat Betterment. My sector hadn't been lost yet. End of chapter. I would quickly like to thank our Tier 5 patrons, Dragzoon W.R.E, Quantum Wednesday, Ambrose Cattell, Lord Ashrakal, Bushmaster 177, Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, and Arcadian. Thank you very much.